So moving into the adoption of the 2023 AGM minutes, can I please have someone mover? Aubrey Harris. And I need a seconder, please. Destigier. Okay. And now, thank you for that. And now we'll proceed to the vote. Those who are in favor of this motion, please raise your hand.
Count is 50.
Thank you. So the count is 15. Those who are against, please raise your hand.
Count is 2.
Okay, thank you. And those who would like to abstain, please raise your hand.
Count is 4.
For abstaining? Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so the AGM minutes will carry then. Thank you all so much for your diligence in the raising of hands. We're going to move on to our next session, which is a discussion with board members. We would like to start this session allowing us to, we would like to start this session by giving an update on what the board has been up to. For those of you who do not know, our board over the last year has been functioning with a committee of chairs model as well as the board. And so we have board members who are chairing our committees. And so those board members will be reporting on what their committees have been up to for this past year. And then we'll provide you with a little bit of context. I'm sure all of you have been receiving our board emails after our board meetings, and that has been a commitment that we've had as a board to ensuring that we're reporting on what we've been up to every time we meet. And so I'm going to call on some of my colleagues who will provide an update on what their committees have been up to. I'm going to first call on our membership committee, Michael. I will then follow with our governance committee after and call up Lauren. So Michael Hayworth, if you don't mind providing us an update. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Agapi, and thank you everybody for coming out virtually on a Sunday. It's really great to sort of see everybody and see the turnout, which is great. Look, the membership engagement committee was really formed out of a need for the board to reconnect and rework its relationships with our members. And you know, we really recognize that there were some issues both in terms of communication and the relationships, and we've been working away sort of very slowly now for about a year, and we've got our first volunteer on board, which is fantastic. I know he's here. And really what we've been trying to do in the early sort of parts of it are two things. One, increased communication coming from the board to the membership. So you'll see that after each board meeting, there's an email that goes out that just sort of says, hey, this is what we did this weekend, just so people know. It's not always exciting, but it just gives that communication and hopefully a bit of transparency around what is happening. The other thing that we've done is we've also been encouraging board members and me myself going out to Amnesty events. I love nothing more than a Right for Rights event, and I'd like to shout out to AITO for doing the best one that I've seen in quite some time last year. And also the other thing that we've been doing is groups, particularly the ENIAC, the Climate Justice Group, the grassroots activist leaders. Shout out to Kim and Gord and everybody who's been doing that, and also group conveners from across the country. We've been inviting them to board meetings just to have a chat and to see what's going on, see what's happening with their groups and how the board can support. And finally, giving feedback where there's feedback from members to trying to find and locate the appropriate member of staff to say, hey, this would be really good, or this resource would be happening. So that's what we're doing. I think ahead, I'm hoping the committee, not sure whether I'm going to be doing it as of tomorrow, but I'm hoping that the committee will continue its work with staff and with members, and try to continue to open up the communication horizontally between members, rather than us needing to sort of go up and come down, and sort of build that, help build those relationships, and continue with the work of communicating the stuff from the board. That's my update. I know it was a lot and I spoke a little fast, but hopefully that's helpful. And if anybody has questions, then you can always email me or call me, or shoot me a chat. Cheers.
Amazing. Thank you, Michael. I'm going to ask Lauren, who chairs our governance committee, to provide us with an update.
Sure, thanks, Gappy. And just to say, Michael's been a really excellent colleague these past couple of years. He's our resident Australian and has a really deep knowledge of the Amnesty movement. But just to say, the membership committee as well is a big part of how we've really switched up how we work as a board of directors. And I've seen how it's really helped evolve our relationship with members, and kept that two-way conversation going. So yeah, I hope members find that useful as well. My name is Lauren Liu, and I've been a board member for 3 years. As the chair of the governance committee, I'll be delivering the committee's report, and the other members of the committee are Dastigir Sakizai, Hannah Ahmedi, and Sarah El Garib, and they've contributed really meaningfully to the work of the committee over the past year as well. So the mandate of a governance committee of a nonprofit board is to identify and organize opportunities to strengthen governance throughout the entire organization. And together with the rest of the board, it also assesses the degree to which strategic priorities guide the work of the organization. So some wins or some successes we've had over the past year include, first of all, holding a workshop with the whole board, which entailed a survey and review of the current state of governance. This included going over composition of the board, levels of oversight, structure, accountability, and functioning. And this was a really valuable exercise in helping old and new board members reach a common understanding of the role of the board and how the board works with the Secretary General, and also how we want governance to operate moving forward at Amnesty. And this also helped us create some ways of working that helped us to professionalize how the board functions regardless of turnover, regardless of how many new directors join. And it also helps the board be more proactive in fulfilling its functions instead of reactive. And this process led to the creation of a new board manual, which did not exist in a comprehensive form before this year. So that's going to be a really valuable tool in shaping and guiding the board's work moving forward. Second, the board drafted 2 important resolutions to enact member resolutions previously adopted at other AGMs. And this includes a bylaw change to designate a youth director position on the board that will be coming to a vote before members today. And also a bylaw change to create a new class of youth members that will not require a financial contribution. And the purpose of this measure is to energize our youth base and remove a barrier that could potentially prevent them from joining and participating in Amnesty. And third, the governance committee has conducted a review of bylaws to ensure compliance with the Canadian Nonprofit Act, the CNCA. And we're currently reviewing the proposed changes that have been prepared by our legal counsel. This includes things like obligations with respect to audits and review, things such as mandatory minimum requirements contained in the CNCA with regard to rules for terminating memberships, ensuring that our bylaws are compliant with CNCA requirements to vest all powers to manage the corporation with the board of directors, and more. This review hasn't been conducted for quite some time, and so our bylaws failing to align with current Canadian law puts us at legal risk, and therefore this is a regular exercise to ensure that our bylaws are up to date. Our timeline for bringing these bylaw changes before members is next year's AGM, before which we'll be briefing members on what these changes will entail and getting input on these as well. And I welcome questions from the floor.
I'm going to actually ask that we finish all of the reports and then we will move on to the Q&A for members. I am going to be reading our treasurer's report. As I mentioned earlier, Greg unfortunately could not be with us, and so I will be reporting on behalf of the Finance Committee. And so this is something I assume needs to go up on the screen. No, okay. So are we going to be putting that up there? Okay, so if you had a chance to take a look at our audited financials, there are a few areas that I think are of interest to folks. Number one, our cash has pretty much has decreased a bit, and there's two reasons for that. There is they're tied to lower liabilities and more timely payments directly. I actually feel like I need to read this and it's not in front of you. And so therefore I'm reading the wrong thing. So in reviewing our financial results of the year ending in December 31st, 2023, it's clear we are navigating some challenging waters, particularly in terms of funding and operational expenses. Let's look at what these numbers are telling us and how we can align our financial strategies with our underlying commitments to human rights advocacy. So cash flow and financial health. So what's happening in this area? We've seen cash reserves dip from nearly 5 million to just under 3 million in 1 year. That's a big shift as a result of continuing deficit budget related to salary costs and significant organizational investments in areas such as our operational efficiency, IT, human resources, and building internal capacity. This includes paying bills on a timelier basis to reduce our liabilities. This simultaneously with our IT crisis and shifts in the economy have also impacted fundraising, causing a deficit budget to impact our reserves. Why this is important? This isn't simply about numbers, it's about investing in our building and building out our model of Amnesty International Canada that maintains the capacity to act with an agile response when human rights are threatened. We need to ensure that we have resources and the infrastructure ready to respond to the increasing and shifting landscape of human rights global advocacy, through which requires investment in areas that have been historically underfunded. An example of this is our IT, our facilities, and our human resources. Our staff is currently focusing on efforts on more dynamic fundraising strategies and cost savings on non-essential expenditures. And so that's what we're working on to mitigate this. Trends in fundraising, what we're seeing is we have experienced a decline in our fundraising revenue year over year, which is a trend that the entire fundraising sector is experiencing across Canada with aging donors and growing economic insecurities. This matters because fundraising is our lifeline here at Amnesty International Canada and continues to exist because of our donors. Without our donors' revenue, our ability to fight for justice and equity is not possible, which is why the fundraising team is actively involved in revisiting, improving our donor experience, and improving communications with our stakeholders. The next steps around this is, in addition to continuing to focus on the donor experience, the fundraising team is also exploring what new partnerships could look like that can add additional, open doors for additional revenue streams for the organization. So intentional spending for human rights impact. Despite the financial challenges, our spending on advocacy, activism, and communication remains very strong. We have not wavered our commitment on our members and donors continuing to be prioritized and focus on our financial human rights resources towards our work and our impact. So that has not changed. The balance sheet clearly demonstrates our commitment to our mission. We're making sure that every dollar spent is making an impact both in human rights, but is also establishing strong, sustainable foundation for Amnesty Canada to continue its important work into the future. The board is committed to continuous evaluation of our spending, which will be a key support to our staff and the organization through these challenging economic times. We will ensure that our biggest investments are translating into real advancements in human rights and be accountable to our membership on reporting back on that impact. In other words, our main focus is our main focus, which is our human rights work and making sure that every dollar is being spent towards our mission, and anything that is not necessarily feeding into that directly, we will be making adjustments for. In terms of investing into the future, so we continue to invest in capital assets, which is a long-term goal. We recently renewed our lease at our Toronto office, including renovations for the space that were recently completed. In addition, we have established a building committee of board members, and staff representatives to review our head office in Ottawa. Capital assets aren't just physical items, they are tools to empower our work, enhancing our campaigns, and strengthening our reach. We are fortunate to be one of the few sections who have the privilege of owning real estate. It is critical that all stakeholders, board members, staff, and members review our real estate assets to ensure that we are utilizing it to the maximum return for our investment to keep our human rights work at the center. It's amazing to own space, but we also have to ensure that we continue the work that needs to be done. And so we will be working alongside members, board members, and staff to assess what our assets look like and what that can look like. So our auditors' insights. The auditors have given us a qualified opinion, as is commonplace for nonprofit organizations in Canada. This means that the evidence obtained by the auditors for the revenues was limited to the amounts recorded in our records. This opinion is consistent to auditor reports in prior years. The finances, in finances, like human rights work, transparency and trust are everything. The board understands and respects the need to show our donors and supporters the organization's handles every donation with the utmost care and accountability. Our current operational plan has several strategies, strategic projects that are focused on implementing stronger tracking and verification systems for our finances and fundraising activities. This is important to help us maintain consistent audits and maintain the trust of our members, staff, donors, and the public. As we look forward, as we discuss these points, let's keep our mission at the heart of every decision that we're making. Our financial strategies should not just be about maintaining stability, but about powering our commitment for human rights across the globe. I look forward to our discussions on these points and collectively discussing possible strategies that not only address the current financial hurdles that we're experiencing, but also supports the mission for the long term to help support direct our staff. We would love to hear your thoughts on any concerns about our financial trajectory. It's a collective effort, and your insights are invaluable to making a plan moving forward. So I thank you all. I believe that we have heard from each of our committees. And so I would love to open up the floor to our membership if there are any questions for any of the board members. This is a Q&A opportunity for all board members. The committee of chairs who you have heard from us are actually folks who are chairing the committees, but you can direct your questions to any of the board members. So I would like to open up the floor for that.
You see there's a question in the chat, Agapi.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I'm trying to pull up the chat. Okay, so question, if we are down 2 million in 1 year, what will happen this year? So one thing that I will definitely say is these are questions that we are asking as a board, we're asking these questions and diligently trying to find solutions for. And so I am going to, the staff have come to us with a very concrete plans and actions that they will be taking. And so I am going to call on Kian, our finance director, to maybe speak to this question.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear and see me. My name is Cian McSweeney. I'm the Director of Finance and Operations. Yes, we are down 1 million in the prior year, but we are actively managing our resources for the current year in 2024. So reviewing all our operations to ensure that they're in line with expected budget spend, while also keeping a very close eye on the fundraising outlook for the coming year as well. So working on aligning our operations to our revenues. That would be my answer.
Thank you, Kian. I have a few folks who have their hands up. It's very different than on Teams where it actually tells you who put their hand up first. So forgive me if you put your hand up before someone else, but I see Marilyn on my screen with her hand up.
Hello, everybody. I'm joining you from my home in Toronto. This may be for Michael Hayworth as a board member, or maybe for the person who's organizing the nominations. I forget who it is already. I had 3 challenges in trying to decide among the candidates who might serve Amnesty Canada's goals the best and who might serve the membership the best. The first is that I had to be absent for the online presentation by the candidates. And I don't know how to get around that except by perhaps offering recording of that to people like me who had another priority, or having a different time for them to present as like 2 choices. The second is that not all the candidates provided videos, and I find the videos really helpful to getting a sense of the personality, the nature of the individual, as well as their written bios. So I don't know if next time we have an AGM or a small AGM, whether that could be more or less enforced, just so we can make the best choices. The third is that very few of the candidates made their engagement with Amnesty a priority in what they presented to us. So I was flying blind as to their previous history and commitment to the organization through teams and structures and so on. So those are my 3.
I actually will direct that over to the chair of the nominations committee, seeing how Michael was one of the candidates. I will maybe.
Sure, yeah. Happy to answer. Thanks for your question. So the nominations question and answer session, there is a recording of that available that, from my understanding, is available on the My Amnesty portal. In terms of getting the videos from candidates, I couldn't agree more. And the nominations committee really did make it as clear as possible, including reminders for folks. But ultimately, we left it up to candidates. We didn't want to bar someone from running if they weren't able to do that. But I agree, if someone did do all of the steps, they're more likely to attract votes. So I think there's certainly an incentive to provide the videos. But yeah, the nominations committee, we really do appreciate feedback, and we were trying to make it better and better every year. And I think we've made major strides there. But certainly, we can always improve, and I encourage folks to submit any feedback to the nominations email. So next January, when we start up again, we'll be able to incorporate some of that. But yeah, thanks, Marilyn. I hope I answered at least most of it. And I'll put in the chat as well. You can read the applicants' answers to questions and an overview of their competency. I'm sure that would help. Last thing I'll say is our full report is on your My Amnesty under the confidential documents. And so you can read that, in the background as well.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Brandon. I'm going to pass it over to Jane, then Stan.
Hi, thank you. My question's for Lauren. I've been on the Nominations and Elections Committee for 3 years. I've been hearing throughout that time that the bylaws needed a significant number of changes, and I'm wondering when the members are going to be consulted about new draft bylaws and whether we can hope to have them at next year's AGM.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. This is a major housekeeping issue that has been delayed for several years, as you noted. And the first step has been to consult with our lawyers who are experts in Canadian nonprofit law to ensure that we're making the correct changes and catching everything we need to in terms of amending our bylaws. So what they've done is they've shared with us a really extensive list of bylaw changes, and we've reviewed them together as a committee and also as a larger board. So the next step requires codifying those changes as resolutions that can be brought to an AGM, but also as a board understanding or kind of doing the fine tuning in terms of which wording we want to use and which changes we want to accept or not. And at that stage, next year or before the next AGM, we'd like to hold a meeting or sort of a town hall for members so that we can discuss those changes together and everybody is clear on what those changes are.
Thank you, Lauren. I hope you're going to be discussing them before they're at the resolution stage. That's too late for member input that might be worth considering for changes.
Yeah.
And I've seen members turn down bylaws at AGMs if they're not consulted at a draft stage where they still can be changed.
Yeah, absolutely. The intention is to involve members in this governance process and certainly to ensure that that discussion has been had in a fulsome way before our AGM next year.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Stan.
Yes, I guess my question was similar, very similar to Jane's. I'm concerned that the discussion at the 2023 AGM, I think, revealed that there was substantial concern about about not just the bylaws needing to have a complete overhaul, a complete review, and it's more than simply whether we're complying with the requirements laid down in the Canada Not-for-Profit Corporations Act. It's more than that. I think we have some really significant problems within Amnesty if we are truly going to be a member-focused, member-driven organization. And that's evident by First of all, the low turnout for this AGM. It was evident at the candidates forum, where I counted 6 actual members who were present who did not, as we say, have any skin in the game. They were not nominations committee members. They were not candidates seeking office. They were interested members, and there were only 6 of them. So if there isn't real consultation, authentic, meaningful consultation with the members about these bylaws and about, not just about the bylaws, but what are the consequences if the bylaws are not complied with. Because we've had a significant problem in our organization the past couple of years where the board, in my view, did not comply with the existing bylaws. So you had this alienation, and I think it's a big problem to overcome.
So I think first and foremost, I think we definitely acknowledge that. And I hope that the board over the last year has shown through our actions the need to reconcile that divide. We really have been focusing on that. And the bylaws, with the leadership of Lauren, it's not, like you said, it's an overhaul. Like, it's not just small items. And so we really have been building the groundwork. Lauren actually has really been leading the charge in that, to build the groundwork so that this year we actually can have meaningful consultation, so that we will be prepared for the AGM, for the larger AGM coming up this year. So I think you can count on that engagement from the board to ensure that members are being heard, and that we all really understand our bylaws and what that means, and on both ends being accountable to them. Thank you.
Excuse me, Agapi, I'm just going to jump in here and let you know that there's just over 20 minutes left in this session.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can I make a second comment?
In response to what I just said? Sure.
To some extent it is. I think we've got we may have a significant problem right at this AGM. My wife, Kay, spent 50 minutes trying to get connected to the Zoom meeting. I've received emails from other people that want to be at this AGM who are also having difficulties connecting. I just hope that doesn't undermine even further the commitment of members to participate in the organization and its governance.
I completely agree. I think we all have experienced that, and I do apologize. I think that was a glitch with the system, but I completely noted. Thank you. I will move on to Sharad and then Kim.
Okay. My question is about minority rights in Quebec. So I have brought this up at the last 2 AGMs, and nothing has more or less been done. So I read the 2023 Human Rights Agenda document, and it was very surprising that minority rights are not, in Quebec, were not mentioned at all. Currently, the French section is doing a campaign on systemic racism in Quebec, but they're ignoring laws 21, 40, and 96, which have been put in place by the current government to institutionalize racism against minorities, like both ethnic, say religious in terms of Law 21, and language minorities. And just last month, the Premier of Quebec announced that he was going to fund the building of a new museum, a museum on the history of Quebec, which would start with when the white French explorers came over from France. To him, like, the history of Quebec starts from then. He kind of ignores Turtle Island and everything that the indigenous people did or were there. So it is a serious problem, and I would like Amnesty International to work on it, or if not work, at least mention it in the reports. Okay. Thank you. And I have a second question. I just want to know, how is the Ottawa office heated? Is it by oil, by natural gas, or with a heat pump?
Oh, good question. Can I pass that over to a staff member that might have the answer to that? Because I unfortunately don't.
So perhaps I can tackle the first question, and Kian, you can answer the second. I completely agree. I mean, the situation of minority rights in Quebec is appalling, and it is very, very concerning. We very often have these discussions with the Francophone section. Just to give you a bit more of an understanding on how we work with our Francophone colleagues, they really lead on all Quebec-related human rights work. It's sort of a tacit agreement that we've come to. So we focus our resources on the rest of Canada. And they've also asked us really to let them really focus on Quebec because they are a small organization. They do not have the means that we do. And it is seen, the argument that we received is that when an English-speaking organization critiques the Quebec government, it's not effective. It's more effective as a strategy to have a French-speaking, a Francophone Amnesty address the human rights crises in Quebec. And so, so this is why we, as you see, do not mention Quebec much in our human rights agenda. The Francophone section has their own human rights agenda in which they highlight many of the issues that you've mentioned, not all of them because they have limited capacity. But I will certainly pass on your comment again to the Francophone section and raise the concerns from our members on this end.
Okay, thank you so much, Ketty and Sharad. Kim, please go ahead.
Thanks, Agapi. Did you want to answer Sharad's other question first, or?
Oh, yes. Ketty, do
I
you
can wait.
know that? Thank you, Kim. Thank you.
Sorry, Sharad, could you repeat the question again, please? Sorry, this is Kian.
The question is, like, do you know how the Ottawa building is heated, whether it's by oil, natural gas, or with a heat pump?
We have heat pumps.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kian. And thank you, Sharad. Sorry about that. Kim.
Hi, Agapi. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Just want to acknowledge that I'm joining this meeting from Misquitiwa, which is also known as Edmonton. I'm not sure if this is exactly a question, but ever since I saw the documents coming out for the AGM, of course, I was looking into things because I am running for global delegate. And I remembered a schedule that I had seen, and I found the schedule finally today, which according to the schedule that is part of the bylaws, we should have been electing a member delegate and a youth delegate this year to represent our organization in 2025's Global Assembly. And I don't know if that is something that I'm misunderstanding, but according to the schedule that I have, that is what should have been happening. So I don't know if that, I was going to send an email, but then I thought, no, I just wanted to bring that up.
I can
in case that was missed.
speak to, so yeah, a number of years ago, there was the youth delegate move to incorporate that as well. So what we have is there's one delegate that's being elected from the membership through the nominations committee. So that there's 3 who are applying for the role and who are vying for votes. But then the board of directors of their own accord, of their own process, will be delegating a youth delegate to go in addition to the one that's being voted in. So I can't speak to that, but the board will be appointing a youth delegate. And as for the membership one, that could be a youth or could not be, but it's totally open.
Okay, thanks so much, Brandon. That's really helpful to know that it's a board appointed posting there, so we're not off schedule.
Thank you so much, Kim, for pointing that out. Because if we missed that, that would have been tragic, but we're on it. Thank you. Destagir and then Gordon.
Thank you, Agapi. I was going to add a few words to comments or explanation that was offered by Lauren regarding bylaws, or regarding the question Jane raised, and which is a very good question. Then I saw, and I'm pleased to see Stan is here with us. He went more in depth and more broader the issue of governance. He basically highlighted in the concerns with that. So I would try to cover that based on what we have been doing. Stan, first of all, really pleased to see you. I was hoping I will see you in Regina last year, but I didn't hear from you. I don't know whether you stood me up or you didn't come. Anyways, the issue, the questions, actually a few questions you raised, they are very crucial to the organization's health and growth, both. As a specialist or as a senior analyst in regulatory and legislative issues, that's my paid job, I follow a very strict process of reviewing all bylaws and legislative proposals, amendments, or new proposals, all this, which has a significant or key component in the whole process, the consultation. The consultation, as you mentioned, has to be meaningful. It's not selling and telling, but engaging stakeholders, in this case, the membership, to provide input, to provide their feedback. And that has to become, which is not yet, a formal process of reviewing bylaws and then proposing it them at the AGM. In a larger kind of sense, engaging membership in more meaningful two-way relationships or two-way communication is very crucial to both our human rights agenda, as Agapi mentioned earlier, that's our main focus. And as the ability to raise required revenues for implementing that agenda in both directions, that are very important. And we will be seeking, I don't know if I will be with the board anymore or not, but I will be happy to see this is happening in terms of getting the membership more engaged and getting their views, involving them actually more.
Sorry, you're just going to jump in there on the 2-minute limit for speakers. I know we have another few hands up there.
Yeah, my comments complete now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Gordon Barnes, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm joining from Treaty 4 territory, Toronto, Saskatchewan, and I had mentioned in the chat it would be useful to have a link, if you can share it, to the board committees and their terms of reference and the time frame in terms of the recruitment of non-board members to the committees. And if you could, somebody could follow up that in the chat or here, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay, yes, Gordon, we do have terms of reference and we had created that. I don't know if there's a link where it all lays right now. However, we will, as an action item, make sure that there's a page on the website where people can engage with the instructions on how to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sharad, back to you and then Lewis.
Yeah, I would like to get more information about the special meeting in August that we've heard about that the board is having, because from the climate justice advocacy specialized team, we had a meeting with members of the board, including you, in February, and we still have a lot of open items that we would like to discuss and get closure on. So that would be a good opportunity. But in general, like, we don't know anything about this August meeting. So if you could please clarify.
Yeah, I can clarify. So the August meeting is really for us. We had a board meeting yesterday, and so it's a special meeting for us to be able to actually complete some of the action items that we didn't have enough time to get to. And so one of those items is the bylaws and meeting with the lawyers. We meet 4 times a year as a board. However, there's a lot of heavy lifting that needs to take place. And so we have to have a special meeting in August to solely focus on the bylaws, as well as another standing item around just our fundraising strategy for to give clear instructions for staff. And so those 2 items just need to be require more time and discussion, which we didn't have enough. And we need a lot of time for the lawyers to go over all of their suggestions so that we can then come up with how we will come back to the membership for consultation. That's what that meeting is about. So we are more than happy to have every one of our meetings that we've had this year. We've invited member groups to join us. And so when we have our fall board meeting, we can follow up and have you all join there. But the meeting in August is really just a working meeting for us to catch up.
Okay, so from the climate justice advocacy specialized team, we would like to have a follow-up meeting to the February meeting we had to discuss the remaining issues or the open issues. So whenever you can schedule it.
Yeah, for sure. That's not a problem. Jen, who's our liaison, is on the call. I know that we will definitely action item that and reach out to you. Not a problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Lewis.
Okay, you can switch the camera if you want. Thank you, Agapi. Hello, everyone, and I'm coming knowledge coming from the Silex Okanagan territory people, and my question, follows some of the concerns that were raised earlier about the candidates. But the candidates, first of all, they have impressive bios. Many of the ones that I came across, and for most everyone, interesting, skills and capacities and histories, and different areas of the work on human rights, but also organizational skills. Although I found the same as the previous speaker that we have a difficulty finding enough information about their Amnesty trajectory, or at least exposure prior to their candidacy postulation. But it's not that it's a disadvantage, because we need input from outside world, sort of say, outside Amnesty, and multi organizations, not only organizations, but also corporations and government. I mean, there is a member of parliament that is welcome, because they know the A's and A's and Z of the rules there. And so it's, anyways, to make it short, I think we value that. But at the same time, 40 years ago or so, when we used to have that loyalty of Amnesty and knowledge about our family as an asset, it seems to be disappearing slowly, and we are more efficient organization, but at the same time losing that knowledge, internal knowledge of what we've been doing throughout so many years. And and find that the experience is not bad, is enrichment. And but anyways, the two are pulling together, and I think it's a healthy one. But at the same time, I find difficulty that some of them have been appointed by board members. And I find interesting that the board member didn't mention perhaps there is a short list of candidates that have prior experience with Amnesty, but certainly, we should.
My apologies, Lewis. I'm just going to jump in with
Yeah, okay, that's it.
And I also just
Thank
highlight
you.
that we have 3 minutes left, and that maybe
Thank you.
Kim might be the last question. And Agapi,
Kim.
if you want to answer both questions at the same time, I will leave that to you.
Great. So, Lewis, thank you. I will take Kim's question and then I'll briefly speak to that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Agapi. Mine is a quick question. It's just going back to the August special meeting. When you just described it, it sounded like it was just a board meeting. I was under the impression it was a meeting of members. This is directly quoting from the email. It said that the board has organized a special meeting on August 11th to review additional resolutions and discuss any outstanding issues. So is that been revised, or is that still the case?
Yeah, is it helpful for me to jump in here? This is Lauren, the chair of the governance
Thanks,
committee.
Lauren.
Yeah, so this special meeting, the date was set in consultation with NIAC, and it's a convening of members that will in which we'll bring forward resolutions for votes. So it's an official meeting as well between members. I think Agapi was referring to a board meeting we're also having to coincide with that. But at that meeting, we'll be examining a resolution to create a youth class of membership that doesn't require a financial contribution. And we chose to have that August 11th date because we felt that was a good time before the start of the semester to ensure that we had the greatest participation possible from our youth members who worked hard to bring this initiative forward.
Okay, I also submitted a resolution, but I never heard anything back from the committee that considers that. So maybe I'll follow up by email to see what is going on there, if that's the only resolution that's being considered in August.
So I believe we have other resolutions being considered at the special meeting. So that it may have been, if I'm surprised if we didn't reply to you, I could double check in that. But Gina has certainly been handling things and passing things on to me very quickly. But the special meeting was helping address a number of issues, including the youth membership, because it hadn't been submitted in time to formally send that information out to everybody in time for this meeting. So that was a key part of it. But as you know, there was a miscommunication in the original meeting announcement email that unfortunately caused confusion on other resolutions. But because we have to meet certain bylaw requirements, we had to treat them that way. The special meeting was an opportunity to help try to amend some of the issues that may have arisen from the miscommunication.
Okay, thank you both for that. Yes, and thanks, Kim, for clarifying. I actually didn't know which meeting you all were referring to. So just to be clear, there's two very distinct meetings, one working on the bylaws, the other one is working on this resolution on the 11th. So thank you for those questions. And then Lewis, I just wanted to acknowledge and address that these are items that we will be providing back to. I think it's a balance for us in ensuring that we're recruiting board members that have a wealth of knowledge, both within Amnesty and just board experience, period. And so I think that's something that we're constantly looking at, but I think that Brandon, who's on the line, has been taking notes on all of the suggestions and will take those into consideration as we move forward.
I'll just highlight on that one real quick that we love seeing active volunteers and members apply. And encourage that. We have an intro session to explain how to apply and things like that. But it ultimately comes down to interest. So that's maybe some of the other themes that were brought up. We need to grow our membership, have more engagement there. But yeah, of course, if someone has an Amnesty background, that would serve them well in some of these governance roles.
Amazing. Thank you, Brandon. And so with that being said, I just want to thank all of you for the fruitful discussion, the questions, the suggestions. I think all of it will strengthen our ability to serve this organization's mission. We are now going to break. It is 2:21, and we are going to return back in 20 minutes at 2:40. So feel free to just take off your mic and your video, and we'll see you in 20 minutes. Thank you.
This is from Michael Mortson. It's Aubrey. Could you give me a call, please?
Hello. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you all had a chance to take a little bit of a break. I'm just going to give a few more seconds for people to come back in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The next session that we're going to be moving into is the resolutions session. And we will now move the resolutions, and I'm going to actually pass this over to the chair of the resolutions committee, Aubrey, who I would just like to thank so much for all of the effort that you put into preparing for today. And so I will hand it over to you to lead the session. Thanks.
Thanks, Agape. Yeah, welcome again. We're doing resolutions again. Just wanted to remind you as well that because of the way we're doing our votes on Zoom, by raising of hands, if there is something when we're going to a vote, sorry, there's a helicopter running by my place right now. If we are going to a vote and there's something which is really urgent that needs to be addressed in a point of order sort of situation, please put it in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on that when it comes up. There are only three resolutions that were received in time to be considered on the in the resolution report. That's why you had only those three that were shown in there. As mentioned, there was a miscommunication regarding resolutions in the initial announcement for the AGM. Which we have tried to correct with allowing extra time on various things, but we do still need to have there are procedures in place where we are, but we have adopted this resolution or this agenda, so this is what we're going with. Our first resolutions, the resolutions that we're going to be covering today are resolution B2024-1, the addition of to AICIS bylaws section 8.01.1. Our finance resolutions, which is resolution C2024-1, the audited financial statements for the fiscal year of 2023, and the resolution 2024-2, auditors fiscal 2024 resolution. Those are the resolutions that are being considered in this session. Hi, Sharad. Yes, I see that. So yes, there was an opportunity earlier in the meeting, however, because it needed to be added to the agenda, the climate justice advocacy. I understand that when I was aware of that. What we are going to have to do for that resolution to be considered is that when we have got through the resolutions that are listed, that are being considered today, we will then have to go back to having Agape chairing a vote on whether to consider the resolution, because it wasn't added earlier on when we did have that opportunity in the meeting. This is the Robert's Rules structure. Yes, thank you as well, Marie, for mentioning that. Please also, once you've heard results on numbers, please remember to lower your hand just so that it's not accidentally counted in a successive count of votes. There were no resolutions under the strategy and action category, A. For our organizational resolutions, actually, let's start with the financial resolutions because they're probably going to be less concerning or less of a problem. Resolution C2024-1, the audited financial statements for the fiscal year of 2023. May I have a mover to consider this resolution for the vote? Sorry, I've got to bring up the members here. Is anybody raising their hand?
Lewis is raising his hand.
Okay, thank you. Lewis, and a seconder?
Harris Ahmed has also put up his hand.
Great. Sorry, I'm getting comments in here as well. They are, yeah. Well, sorry, we'll get onto that in a moment. So, we've got movers. Is there someone who can speak to the resolution? I'm afraid I don't have a view showing any hands raising on this.
This is for the audited financial statements, correct?
Yes, this is for the resolution C2024, the audited financial statements.
Yes, so we had gone over earlier at the treasurer's report, kind of the synopsis of our audited financial statements, and so that is what I'm presenting to be passed, is the audited financials that have been spoken to and as well as provided.
Yeah. And these were also included in the report. Is there anybody who has any questions regarding this resolution who would like to pose a question to the movers? I have no view to see the hands.
Gina?
Please let me know.
I got you.
Okay.
Gina?
Yes, just noting the slides. There is a slide that will show this resolution so members can read it. If you just advance the slides ahead a bit.
That's the one. Thank you.
There you go.
Thanks.
Has anybody raised their hand? And
No, I don't see any questions, so I think we're
okay.
good to move on to a vote.
Okay. Yeah. Would someone like to move to have a vote on resolution C2024-1, the audited financial statements, be it resolved that the audited financial statements as at and for the year ended December 31st, 2023, which have been approved by the board of directors, be adopted. Would someone like to
Gordon Barnes
Barnes?
will move, and Harris Ahmed will second.
Great. And in that case, when we have a vote, those in favor, please raise your hands now.
Count is 19.
19? Okay, please lower your hands. Are we zeroed?
Not yet. Harris, just if you could lower your hand. Thank you.
Those opposed, please raise your hand.
Count is 1.
1. Please lower your hand.
And zero.
And those abstaining, please raise your hand now.
Count is 2.
Okay. Be that result, the resolution has passed. It is now resolved that the audited financial statements as at and for the year ended December 31st, 2023 has now been adopted as approved by the board of directors. Moving on to resolution C2024-2, the auditors for the fiscal year of 2024. This is be it resolved that Welch LLP be and are hereby appointed as the external independent auditors of AIC SES for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, on such remuneration as to be mutually agreed by and between the board of directors and Welch LLP. Is there someone who can speak to this? Oh, sorry, I suppose I should first ask, do I have somebody moving to consider this resolution?
Marilyn
Thank you.
Marilyn McKim.
A seconder?
Harris Ahmed.
So if someone can speak to this resolution.
I can speak to it on behalf of Greg. This is to appoint our external auditors. I believe that these are the same auditors that have done our previous year's audited financials. And so the recommendation or the decision has been made by the finance committee to continue with them, and we need your support in making this official.
Is there anybody who would like to ask a question of the movers of this resolution? Or raise a point of concern or perhaps to change anything in the resolution?
No one's hands are up.
No hands are up. Okay, then if that's the case, may I have a mover for a vote on this resolution, Resolution C 2024-2 on the auditors for the fiscal year 2024? Is there a mover?
Oh, I thought we just did the mover and the
I was
seconder.
to consider it. This is for the vote, to have a vote. Are we ready to have a vote? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, yes, people are putting their hands up. So do you need a mover?
I need a mover and a seconder, please.
Okay. Sorry, folks. Let's put our hands down and do this again.
Okay, so if someone would like to move to have a vote on resolution C 2024-2, auditors fiscal year 2024.
I will say the mover could be Harris Ahmed, and the second person that had their hand up is Corinne de Rilland.
Okay,
So,
excellent.
yeah.
So that being the case, resolution C 2024-2, auditors fiscal 2024, be it resolved that Welch LLP be and are hereby appointed as external independent auditors of AIC SES for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, on such remuneration to be mutually agreed by and between the Board of Directors and Welch LLP. All hands are down at the moment?
We need all the hands to be down.
Yeah, please lower your hands at the moment.
Gordon and Harris, if you could, thank you. But we're good.
Okay, so those in favor of this resolution, please raise your hands now.
Count is 23.
Please lower your hands.
If Judith and Salandria, if you don't mind putting your hands down, as well as Norin. Thank you. We're good.
Zero. Okay. Any opposing votes, please raise your hands now.
Count is 0.
Thank you. And any abstentions from this, please raise your hands now.
Count is 1.
The resolution therefore passes. Be it resolved that Welch LLP be and are hereby appointed as the external independent auditors of AIC SES for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, on such remuneration to be mutually agreed by and between the Board of Directors and Welch LLP. Oh, thanks, Marco. Sorry. Finally, the only remaining resolution that was received in time from Lauren Liu. We have resolution B 2024-1, addition to AIC SES bylaws section 8.01.1. This resolution is whereas resolution B 2023-1 on the establishment of a designated youth director position on the AIC SES National Board was adopted by members in 2023. Be it resolved that subsection 8.01.1 be added to the bylaws of AIC SES to read as follows. 8.01.1 Youth Designated Director. 1 director role must be reserved for a member who was 25 years of age or younger at the time of election. May I have a mover for consideration of this resolution?
Luis Alberto de Ela has risen his hand for that.
And a seconder?
The next person who put their hand up was Joanna Salzaki.
Salzaki, yeah.
Thank you.
It's Slavic. No, you did great.
Okay. That's all recorded. So if Lauren or another one of the movers would like to speak to this resolution.
Sure. To keep it brief, I'd like to hand it off to Hannah, who seconded this motion or this resolution. She's actually had a larger role in bringing it to fruition as a former member of NIAC. But essentially the resolution that was adopted by members last year aimed to increase the role and formalize the role of youth members in decision-making at Amnesty. Over to Hannah. Maybe she doesn't have anything to add.
Unmute yourself, yeah.
See, I always tell myself I'm good with technology, and then it comes to things like this, and I realize I'm actually still struggling. But my name is Hannah, and I'm one of the board members and also a longstanding member of Amnesty Canada. This resolution has been a long time coming and has been the work of countless iterations of the National Youth Action and Advisory Committee, along with consultations that have been done with youth across the country. And it really just is a step forward in ensuring that youth have more of an ability to engage in governance at Amnesty International Canada's level, and also to bring the perspectives of youth to these higher level decision-making spaces. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. Are there any members who would like to ask questions of the movers of this resolution? Or raise concerns about the text of the resolution?
I just have one question. I'm wondering if the youth designated director position, when it is elected, will it be in the format of like how the election was this year, where there's a term for a 2-year director position, a term for a 1-year director position? Or will it just be that individuals will run for those director positions and then one of them has to be a youth? If that makes sense.
I imagine that we will do it as a designated role, so it would be a youth position. So we would advertise that there is an availability for youth to apply just to that role, as well as recognizing we could have more than one youth delegate or director, so they could win the designated role, but also run for the open roles. And the 1-year term, that was just a one-off and won't necessarily occur in the future. There was just a gap. And so we're filling that gap and then restarting. Everyone should be back on 2-year cycles.
Yeah, my understanding, just to speak of from the resolutions committee, my understanding was one of the reasons that this was such an important resolution, even though we've had a mandate, or the branch had a mandate from last year, is the hope to have this position in place in time for the election for the big AGM next year.
You have Kim and Gordon who both have their hands up, Aubrey.
Kim, would you like to speak?
Thanks. I just have a quick question. Is there the language here is really short, so I'm just wondering where those kinks will be worked out, like the question that was just asked. And for instance, what if we don't have anyone who meets this criteria running? Like where will the sort of finer points get worked out? I'm totally in support of the motion, by the way.
If Lauren or Hannah could speak, or someone else involved with the process.
Yeah, I can speak to that. This language in the bylaws is meant to be pared down to allow for greater flexibility in deciding how we do enact it and what process we follow. And so the process Brandon just laid out seems to be how that will occur. As for if one youth designated member or one youth does not run for the board, I think that would be similar to how we would handle, the case if a treasurer does not run for the board, or other roles that are held specifically for various roles on the board would be handled. But perhaps Brandon has more expertise on this than I do, but that's my understanding of how that would occur.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be a designated position. And normally, if we cannot, for whatever reason, fill a position, the board is able to make an appointment. So the nominations committee would just say, we didn't have any applicants that, were members, were under this age by this time. And then the board could elect somebody from ENIAC or elsewhere. But yeah, we'll definitely make sure we encourage youth applicants next year, and highlighting that they'll have definitely an available position here if this is passed.
Also, just to clarify, there is also compliance with the Not-for-Profits Act that a board director, a director cannot be younger than 18 years of age. So that the youth position is going to be between ages.
Yeah.
Just to follow that up, then I just think one thing that'll be super important is like a lot of clarity for members about these processes well in advance of elections and AGMs, because when things are left a little bit open to interpretation, there seems to be a lot of confusion among membership.
You have Gordon and Stan in the queue.
Sure. I don't know who was first. I think it was
Brandon.
Gord.
Gordon, sorry.
Okay, Gord, please go.
Quick question. Will the designated youth director position be voted on by all members or just youth members? And I do think that's important to clarify in the bylaw. It's significant. But I'm generally supportive of the resolution itself.
Hannah, did you want to? Sorry.
Well, I believe the section has to do with the composition of the board that they're looking at, not as how they are voted. But please, Lauren, please speak to it.
Sure. Yeah, this position will be voted on by all members, similar to how the other director positions are voted on. It will be part of the same process.
Thanks.
You have Stan who has his hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Stan.
I just have a suggestion. If there's any complicated difficulty in getting a youth director for the board, that there be a canvas and we determine all those members like myself who are over the age of 80 and turn it over to them to fight it out. Sorry.
It's all good. Nice to have some humor in here. Thanks, Stan.
Hannah has her hand up. Aubrey.
Go ahead, Hannah.
No, I was just going to speak to that, Stan, because when I first joined Amnesty, actually, I was 15, and it was actually an individual in my community named Marcy Railer in Amnesty Ajax, who was an older member within the movement who actually got me involved. So I think that conversations regarding like youth being part of governance also just as equally should also go to members who are older, and I think that opens up a really good conversation as to how we can strengthen like intergenerational mentorship but also engagement in human rights issues. So I really like your point, and I think it's great.
There are no more hands up. Aubrey.
Yep. In that case, unless there's anybody else who'd like to speak, I'd like to move to vote on resolution. Have you read it? Oh, hold on. Grab the
I think
wrong.
you need a mover first.
Thank you. Do we have a mover? I think we actually do not need a mover at this point, but
Okay, we'll just vote then.
okay. So the resolution B 2024-1, the addition of to AIC SES bylaws section 8.01.1. Whereas resolution B 2023-1, establishment of designated youth director position on the AIC SES National Board, was adopted by members in 2023. Be it resolved that subsection 8.01.1 be added to the bylaws of AIC ES to read as follows. 8.01.1 Youth Designated Director. One director role must be reserved for a member who is 25 years of age or younger at the time of election. All the hands are down at the moment? Or did you have something to say, Agapi?
No, we have to put everyone's hands down for a sec. And then
Are we at 0 yet?
we're at 0. You're
Okay.
good.
All those in favor of this resolution, please raise your hands now.
Count is 28.
28, excellent. Please lower your hands. Are we at 0?
Just, Joanna, if you don't mind putting your hand down, and Sharad, if you don't mind putting your hand down. I will, yeah.
We're okay. All the hands are down. Anyone who is opposed to this resolution?
Sharad, can you please put your hand down? Thank you. Okay, now you're good.
If anyone is opposed to this resolution, please raise your hand now.
Count is 0.
I'll give it another few seconds just in case. Still 0?
Count is 0, yes.
Okay. If anyone wishes to abstain from this vote, please raise your hand now.
Count is 0.
Last chance. We're all good? Very good. Well, thank you. You can lower your hands. Therefore, the motion has passed. Be it resolved that subsection 8.01.1 be added to the bylaws of AICES to read as follows. 8.01.1, a youth designated director. One director role must be reserved for a member who is 25 years of age or younger at the time of election. That concludes the agended item resolutions to be considered. Just as a reminder that we do have a special meeting coming up in August where additional resolutions may be submitted for consideration. And the timeline for that is coming due soon. So please do get those in as soon as possible. I'm going to hand this over now to Agapi for these issues about emergency resolutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I know that the environmental committee had submitted, so there were 2 reasons why those didn't end up in the resolutions. I believe one, that it was late and it didn't necessarily fit the criteria of what the resolution is. However, we have addressed it as a board and have requested that the initial request be sent to the IS to ask them to sign. It's not necessarily something that needs to come in as a resolution. And so you have our commitment for that. So if that is not sufficient for the group, then I will kind of pass it over to Michael as to what we do in this situation. But I would like to hear from the mover and the seconder if that is sufficient enough for us to send it to the IS to request for them to sign if they are willing and interested.
It's sufficient that if you send it on to them, but one of the reasons we wanted it presented at the AGM and not just at the special meeting was to have members be aware of this issue. So if you can also either put the resolution up just for information, I sent it to Aubrey just now, or include it in the meeting kit so that members are aware of the issue and the importance of this issue.
In order to ensure that there's some support around it. I think we can allow, do you have it, Aubrey?
Well, I may have it, but I'm not entirely certain that a resolution is not being voted on. You can certainly put in the chat links to the Ecocide Manifesto if you want to share that information with the membership. But because it's not a resolution per se, then the text shouldn't be in there. But you can freely share in the chat the Ecocide Manifesto group.
Okay, is that all right, Shard? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And please, those who are on the line, please take a moment to take a look at what Shard is sharing so that we can all move together with that. All right.
Agapi, may I speak?
Oh, yes, Marilyn.
I'm one of the many seconders on that resolution. Is there a reason that the movers of the resolution are just hearing about the decision now to forward this request to the international office?
Because we had a board meeting yesterday. We just
Okay.
yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we're one of the commitments that we have had as a board is to review any resolutions and update where they're at. And so one of them, this did come to our attention and we decided that that would be the best course of action. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Andrea, is your hand up for a comment or a question around this?
Yeah, just a question, I guess.
Sure.
I'm just curious, just could you explain again why our emergency motion couldn't be heard? Because all the motions were late, as I understand. That's not correct?
No, I will let Aubrey speak to that.
Okay.
No, we did receive a number of resolutions in time for consideration, and those are the ones that were listed in the resolutions report. So those are the only ones that were received within the time frame. But we did have we did mention in the follow-up email that was making correction to the miscommunication that other considerations. If you do want to have a resolution heard, you can still have it heard, but it does need to be passed by those attending at a majority vote of 2/3. Those are the rules for our meetings. I hope that's added some clarity, but certainly the three that we looked at today were the only three that were received in time. That's also one of the reasons why the youth membership aspect has been bumped to the special meeting and not wasn't heard today, even though part of that was a miscommunication that went on with it, but it wasn't received by the resolutions committee in time. I hope that's clarified.
Yeah. Okay.
It does clarify it. Thank you. I'm just not sure that we're following our bylaws, because I would think according to our bylaws, the membership who are here in the meeting today should have the opportunity to vote on whether we debate this emergency motion. But I'm going to stand down and respect what you're telling me. I just want to articulate that's my feeling as someone who was a seconder of this motion.
So just to clarify, that's why I just said just a second ago, I asked if that would be sufficient, and one of the movers said that that was sufficient for me to be able to send it over to the IS. And that's why we're proceeding in this way. I mean, if you are insisting that we vote on it, by all means, I can hand that over to Michael and he can tell us what the process would be. But I did ask if that was sufficient and I was told it was.
Did Stan have a comment, or is he just lowered his hand?
He lowered his hand. Okay, no, he's back. Okay, Stan? You have to unmute.
You're muted. Thanks.
I'm not sure this is the appropriate time to raise it. Is there another emergency motion coming? You're not.
I'm not aware of one.
One hasn't been raised here yet.
One hasn't been raised?
Well, they just raised.
I mean, this is the only resolution that has been raised as an emergency motion during this meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Can you explain it's not related to this particular emergency motion? It's related to another one?
There will be this isn't that we're speaking on this particular one at the moment, but when Agapi is done, we can talk about any other resolution.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to be clear, Sharad, are you comfortable moving forward? I just want to be extremely clear that we're okay moving forward with sending it over to the IS, correct?
Yes, but we would like to get feedback from what the IS does. I mean, we can keep checking the site to see once they've signed it, but
of course
they'll probably tell you.
We will follow up. you'll hear from us, once it's sent, what their response will be, etc. So we'll update you along the way. So we're not, so just to be clear, you're okay with that? So we're gonna move on, yeah? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Ketty, sorry, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to add a clarification that might be helpful for the movers of this resolution. So when the request came to us to sign on, we consulted the IS to ensure that it was along Amnesty International policy. And the advice that we received is that currently Amnesty International does not take a position on the recognition of ecocide, but further analysis is being conducted by the IS right now. So we will indeed proceed with sharing this back, but I wanted to share that feedback. However, so the note from the IS is that it's not advisable to use the term ecocide in Amnesty documents and outputs, but it's okay for us to support joint statements that others have made. I wanted to share that feedback that we received from the IS. And in addition to this, we will, of course, share the request that you've put forward.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ketty. So, and thank you so much, Aubrey, for facilitating that session. So we'll now be moving into a brief overview of our board electoral process by the Nominations and Elections Committee. So I'm going to invite the chair of the Nominations and Elections Committee, Brandon Boyd, to speak on this report. Brandon, over to you.
Sure, thanks so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon, and I have been the chair of the Nominations Committee for 3 years. And I work with a wonderful group of volunteers. So there's 4 of us. And if I can be allowed to share my screen, it'll work a little bit nicer. But yeah, so essentially at a high level, our role is to ensure that the members at the annual general meeting are able to vote for the candidates for the positions that have been opened. So generally, we are replacing folks after their 2-year term. Board members can run again. But yeah, so I still can't share my screen, unfortunately, but what I can say as a quick summary, we began our nominations committee in January, and we were tasked with providing candidates for 1 vice chair for 2 years, 4 board of directors positions, 3 of which had a 2-year term.
Sure.
Sorry? Just circling back. So yeah, we had the vice chair, 4 board of directors, 3 of which have a 2-year term and 1 with a 1-year term to fill that gap. We have a treasurer position, and the 1 position for the global delegate was tasked to the nominations committee. And again, the board of directors has a youth position that they're able to delegate. So as every year, we started with reviewing our call for expression of interest. So that's essentially the job posting and outline. This was shared out with all of the members through various channels, and as well was made public through LinkedIn and Charity Village, sites of that nature. We had a number of applicants for each of the roles. So 2 for vice chair, 12 for the director positions, 3 for treasurer, and 3 for the global delegate. We also did receive 5 applications that were disqualified because they were not active members. So it's very important that only a member can be put forth in the election. Our screening process has been built up over a number of years, but highlights these competencies or skill sets, or in one, your location in Canada. So it wasn't to say that we're looking for candidates who met all of these, because that would be a very impressive person, but someone who had a lot of strengths in at least some of them, and could speak to maybe the main aspects of the other. The nominations committee then reviewed all the applications, so resumes, answers to the competency survey, whether or not they were a membership, whether or not somebody had nominated them, their videos, and things like that. And then we put forth 1 person for the vice chair. So this was acclaimed. 1 person for the treasurer, same thing. and acclaim position, both of which are excellent candidates. And then before the membership, there are 9 members up for votes for the 4 positions. So the person who receives the 4th most votes will get the 1-year term. And there are 3 candidates for the 1 global delegate position. And then, yeah, everyone has had this full report, as well as candidates' answers to the application survey can be found. We had a members question and answer session for folks to ask questions. And just to conclude, you can find all this information if you still haven't got your votes in, but otherwise voting will close soon, and the applicants who've been successful will be informed, I guess, and then we'll have our new board of directors and our global delegate for next year. I'll maybe close by just thanking again all the members of the nominations committee, the staff support, Genevieve for being our board liaison. And we do have some turnover. At least 2 of our members are not joining us again next year. So if you're interested in volunteering next year, or just have ideas for how we can make this process better, definitely give us an email at the nominations@amnesty.ca. And we'd be very glad to hear from you. So yeah, certainly happy to answer any questions, but maybe I'll conclude in saying our goal is to make sure we have a very competitive number of candidates to vote for, and that there are no bad choices. And I definitely think we met that with the candidates that are put forward. And I really looking forward to seeing who gets chosen. And for those that didn't get chosen, hoping to see you still involved with Amnesty and maybe applying again next year. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Speaking of the next item, which is around the elections process, I'm going to invite the Chief Returning Officer, Rachel, to speak to the elections process or the results of the election.
Thank you for the introduction. So these are the results of the 2024 board election. The position of vice chair and the position of treasurer have both been acclaimed. So the successful candidates for the position of board director are as follows. For the 3 2-year term positions, we have Lauren Liu, Michael Hayworth, and Aisha Maria Ryan. For the 1-year term, we have Dastagir Sakazai. Sorry if I butchered anyone's names. And for the position of 2025 global delegate, the successful candidate is Kim Thorson.
Amazing. Congratulations to everyone. All right. I want to just, so congratulations to everyone on that. I think that now concludes the AGM. I do want to loop back. Stan, I wanted to be clear. I want to loop back. Did you have an emergency resolution to bring forward? You have to unmute, sorry.
Okay. I don't have an emergency resolution to bring forward, but as a member of the engagement committee, Michael and I had agreed that I would speak and confer with a member, Deborah Watt, and a seconder, Ida Hutchinson, about their concern about appealing a decision of the board.
Yes.
To reject the resolution that they'd put forward.
I think
the problem, if I could just finish very quickly, the problem is that during this meeting, I received an email from the mover of this emergency resolution saying that she couldn't get into the meeting. that there were technical problems and couldn't get into the meeting. I'm not going to advocate for the resolution, but I'm just very concerned that there is going to be, as I said earlier, problems as a result of the board's rejection of the motion and now the inability of the mover and seconder to get it presented as an emergency motion. And this person is telling me, and I have no reason to doubt her, that she's tried to speak with Michael, tried to speak with you, tried to speak with Aubrey about what the process is for appealing the rejection of a motion.
Yeah. Okay, I'm very familiar with the situation. If they aren't here to do that, and I understand that it is because of technical difficulties, I'll hand it over to Michael to speak to this. And then Michael Morstan can speak to and advise us on what to do. Michael Hayworth.
Thank you. Maybe whoever's sharing the screen could stop sharing the screen just so we could see each other, if that would be. That's way cooler. Thank you so much. So yes, definitely. No, look, I wasn't Stan, that's good to know that that person is trying to join but hasn't been able to for some technical difficulties. We would certainly not want to prevent anybody from saying anything because of technical difficulties as well. I note that we do have the special member meeting coming up, in August, which is not too distant. I had thought that was going to be the case because I didn't realize that the mover wasn't going to be here today. Essentially, I didn't anticipate those technical difficulties that I think I had and many other people had. So I think what we'll have to do is perhaps we can loop back to that mover and see if they would like to do something at the special meeting in August, because it would be a shame to have, you know what I mean, simply because the person couldn't join Zoom, it would be a shame to have it put into abeyance for forever. But I think at the AGM, unless Michael corrects me that I'm wrong, a person can move an emergency meeting, and then there's a process for that under the rules and the bylaws. So that would be the case, but I'll throw over to our parliamentarian to sort of explain that. I don't think we can, and I don't think it would be fair actually to debate or consider a motion in the absence of the person who wanted to move it, because I think that they would do it. And yeah, as Aubrey notes in the chat, it was considered by the resolutions committee, and then eventually considered by the board and rejected under our bylaws and the Canada Not-for-Profit Corporations Act as well. So, but I just think it wouldn't be appropriate to debate it in the mover's absence.
I agree. So we'll pass it over to Michael.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the only comment to make is that an appeal would be in order if the member who wishes to file the appeal is present. But in the absence of that member, the appeal can't be made. It would require if it's an appeal, it would require a majority vote to allow it to be considered on the floor. But as I say, the member would have to make that appeal.
Okay, thank you. I have two people with their hands up. Is it regarding this motion? Okay, seeing how I think we've given clarity around that. We're not going to be debating this unless the folks, the mover or the seconder, are here. We'll loop back with them and give them the opportunity to do that on August 11th. But I fear that, much to what our parliamentarian just said, if we are taking questions around this, we are going to be debating something that folks are not here for. So if it is,
But I have a question of Aubrey. I'm wondering why it was not printed out, even though it was rejected.
So under the Canada Not-for-Profits Act, and also, in our bylaws, if it's a resolution that is rejected on grounds the grounds that it was stipulated on, under 160, I just remember the exact section. But essentially that does not need to be published because it was rejected, based on legal grounds. So it's published in there because it doesn't have to be, and there's no obligation to. We're not in violation of any laws by not publishing it. It was rejected on grounds it was an unacceptable motion.
I find that absolutely incredible. I've seen the resolution. I don't agree with it, but we are a member-driven organization. That's what makes us different to Human Rights Watch and so many other charitable groups. Amnesty is grounded in the Declaration of Human Rights and the right of freedom of speech, opinion, and association. Amnesty International has a global campaign of Protect the Protest.
So
the resolution was to censor senior officers. It was not hate speech.
Okay,
so
Kathy, I very much just mentioned that we're not going to speak to this resolution without the folks. So I want to respect that process.
But they have tried,
but we just mentioned
3 or 4 different ways to join us today. And people have not responded. The staff haven't responded to them. They are being shut out.
With all due respect, I think all of us had issues coming in to the link, including myself, including my fellow board members. And so we did apologize for that. So I don't think that is something that's intentionally happening. Michael, you had your hand up. Maybe you can speak to this. And I'm sorry, but they are currently not here. And we agreed that just like the parliamentarian just said, that we can address it. We're more than happy to hear this on the 11th. I encourage them. We'll walk them through how to do that, if that is what they choose to pursue.
But that should have been done for this meeting because they did request it. They have been shut down. That is not right for Amnesty International.
Okay, Michael, go ahead.
So thanks, Kay. Thanks for putting that out there. I just want to address briefly those concerns about shutting it out and mention what Aubrey mentioned. The section of the Act that was relevant was 163 sub 3. It does not have to do with hate speech. It has to do with advancing personal grievances rather than that. And I was the person who conducted the investigation into the issue, and the board actually resolve the issue. But having said that, I won't speak about the content of the allegation. I am aware that staff did respond to those members, did provide them connection details, and provided them extra assistance to be able to actually connect. I'm not sure as to why they haven't been able to connect. I've received no email today saying, hey, I can't connect. Can you assist me? So I haven't seen that, but I know that over the past couple of days, there were extra efforts done to assist those people to connect. Perhaps further efforts need to be done for the next meeting, which is only a couple of months away. But if that helps, Kay, I hope that's useful, and I can follow up with both of you as well, because I do think it's important that people connect and not be. I certainly just want to be clear, there's no like shutting people out or anything like that, though. Everybody's welcome to come. We didn't know who was going to show up to this meeting before people show up. So So yeah, but I'll leave it at that, and I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, and maybe we'll just make a note and take back to staff just to make sure that the next time we do this in August, that there's like a testing, a run through, and extra communication that's provided so that people can access, and that we all can also be here on time and engage. All right. So thank you all so much for an engaging and fruitful discussion over the last few hours. That being said, we are going to bring so there's two hands that are still up. I just want to clarify. Mike looks like he's busy doing something, and Stan, I just want, is this something that needs to be, is this a question?
It's a comment about what you were just saying.
Mhm.
And that is that most of the time that someone like myself or Kay were having difficulty connecting for this meeting, the request for help, at least the ones that I engaged in, to the staff had to be done via email.
Right.
And so that's a problem. And I would just suggest that in future AGMs, and also especially at the meeting in August, that there be a number, a telephone number, so that people who are having the difficulty, they can be walked through it by the staff rather than back and forth on email.
That's a great suggestion, Stan. So I think we should just make a note of that. Maybe having a few staff stand by to be able to support with any tech. Okay. Michael Coleman, you have your hand up. You seemed busy earlier, so I didn't know. You let me know. You're good? Okay. All right. Thank you all so, I can't tell if you're good, Mike. Okay, I'm gonna assume you're okay, unless you or type in the chat.
You're on mute, Mike, if you're trying to speak.
Just a glitch. No, sorry about that.
Oh, okay, we're all good. I thought we were. Okay, thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
I want to thank you all so much. I know that this was my first AGM as chair, so I thank you all for making this such a pleasant experience for me. I definitely want to just reassure everyone, we hear your concerns. We as a board over the last year have really been trying to put a lot of effort into hearing folks, action iteming things, and making sure that we're keeping open lines of communication. And so hopefully on August 11th, we'll be able to demonstrate some of the things that we've heard today in terms of making the accessibility and things a lot more smoother. But I think we have a lot to celebrate today in terms of the resolutions and our ability to come together. So I want to thank all of the staff, all of the volunteers who made today possible. People are planning for AGM, well in advance. And so I really just want to say thank you so much to my other board members, the volunteers, staff, and to you as the membership. This is an organization that's heart is in its membership. And so I want to thank you all for your engagement and for making the time on a Sunday to be with us today. So thank you all so much. And I hope to see you all soon. Take care. Bye.
Before everybody goes, I have a question. I have a request that we all go on camera so that we can take a media shot of our meeting.
Might need to do a couple pages.
So Isan, are you able to take that picture?
Yes, I'm going to have to take two pictures, so folks could just hold on and be patient and make sure you're looking directly at your camera and not blinking. That would be great. So I'll take one. Okay. Just grabbing it. All right. Got it here. Okay.
I got excited. Sorry, Gina, you said before.
Oh, we're taking media shots.
Oh.
We're opening our cameras so we can take a meeting shot.
Tried to grab my anti-death penalty coffee mug, but couldn't find it fast enough.
Stan, you have to smile.
Okay, and I'm going to take a second shot now. Perfect. I think I've got everybody.
Okay, amazing.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
See you
you.
both of you in August, I guess. Take care.
See you August.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.